Hello, my name is Jeff Rolka and welcome to this week's live event. This is your live event where we set aside some time to chit-chat, talk about singing or other music related or just random thingamabobs, whatever you may want to talk about. The chat is open. Your comments are welcome, or I should say not just your comments, but also, I gotta mute that, there we go, can't have that going on. Your comments, questions, interactions amongst yourselves. Please feel free to talk amongst yourselves. You know, it's always lovely when you guys talk amongst yourselves. Hello, Singwise Vocals. Hello, Hoovian. Hello, hello, hello. JC's Radiant Ray. Guten Tag. Good day. To you. Is that a little drum there? That's pretty cool. Saka. Hello. And Jeremy Wright. Jeff, brother. Hello, Jeremy, brother. Welcome to this week's live event. I got a question via email that I'm going to kick off with, actually, which is, and I don't know if I've broached this subject in the videos or not. I feel like I have, but that's entirely possible that I haven't. Is that some of the short vowel syllables? Hey, Striker. Hello, James. Some of the comments, the chat's obviously open, by the way. So if you have a question, please feel free to write it into the chat. and I will answer it as soon as I possibly can. I do get kind of behind a little bit, so if I don't immediately get to you, then it'll be kind of obvious where I am in the chat by what I'm talking about, so you might just scroll back. If it looks like I'm not going to get to your question within the hour that we allow for this session to occur within, please copy and paste or retype it into the comments of this live event, and I'll get a notification, and then I can go and answer that after the live event is over. Hello! Thank you very much. That is very kind of you. Michael, hello. Hello. Good to be here. Good to have you here. Mandy, hello. Welcome. Only here for a few minutes. Got to rush off to a job. I'll listen in the car on the way. Drive safe. Heidi, hello. Hello. It's been a while. Mandy is saying hello, JC's Radiant Ray and Striker. So there was a question about the differences between we, like a W-E, and you might find that there's a lot of different consonants that you can put in front of that vowel. You can put it in front of just about any vowel you want to practice, versus some of the exercises that have an H. He. So the difference being we, he. Sorry, I just saw that comment by Saka. I am a little tired. It's been a really, getting the videos for release this week was very, they're long. Like a couple of them are 20 minutes long, so it took a lot of energy and a lot of time. You know, uploading those. My internet connection's fast, but it's not like super duper fast. So I think it took like 12 hours or something like that for the videos that just went live 5 minutes ago. It took them like 12 hours to upload, which is kind of cool when you think about it. Of course, you know, not that long ago, that was just utterly impossible. So technology has just changed everything. But I digress. Okay, focus. I'm on the task now. So the question was, what's the difference between we, or me, versus he? And it comes down to adduction or abduction. Those of you who've been watching the videos or you work with me, you've heard me use the word adduction, A-D-D-U-C-T-I-O-N, and what that means is that things related to the body are moving towards the center mass. And when we talk about vocal fold adduction, that is how we talk about the closure or the meeting of the vocal folds. So you'll hear terms like vocal cord closure. And while that and adduction are often used synonymously, I feel a little uncomfortable saying if I could say vocal cord closure, then I would be uncomfortable saying that. Because of course with air flowing over them, they don't stay closed all the time. They're vibrating, kind of like a wave. Um, so adduction is the process of bringing them together. Abduction, abduction, is moving away from the center mass of the body. And the main difference between the he exercises and the other consonants that we can use before a vowel is that the he aspirates or abducts the vocal fold. And I use those exercises when a vocalist is being very successful with alignment of their vowels, and the consistency of airflow and the consistency of tone production is really coming along nicely. And that he can be challenging, but it's a very good challenge. And in that I feel in the practice of doing those tonal onsets over and over again from an aspirated vocal fold helps to get a greater awareness of alignment and subglottic pressure or airflow. So the vocalist then has a more accurate overall tonal onset. In other words, when they start a phrase, it's more balanced, and the tone and intonation is truer to what they have later on in the phrase. I'll start to employ those exercises when I hear a vocalist being very, very consistent, like midway through a phrase, or if you're doing a series of scales, and like the first one's a little bit rough, but the second one and each subsequent one is getting better and better, or they're really nice and consistent, then I'll start working on those exercises with the he in order to generate greater awareness around the tonal onset and greater overall balance of phonation at the tonal onset. Great question. That was an awesome question that came in yesterday, and I don't know if the person who sent it in is watching or not, but if so, then they have their answer. I'll have to follow up with email anyway. Okay, now let's see here. Saka, yeah, a little tired. It's been a very, very amazing but very busy week. Hey, Stryker, Jason Ray at Mandy Cummins and Stryker. Hi, all from Stryker. Jess, are vocal cooldowns necessary after every gig, or should they be used when you feel like you have strained your voice? That's a very interesting question. Your self-awareness around this. Like if you've really strained your voice, then it may be very advantageous to just stop. Just stop if you can, and give yourself 5 or 10 minutes, and then come back and assess what has occurred. The cool down things, I don't often use warm downs. I am not one who necessarily advocates for the use of warm downs, particularly if you're singing every day. I like them, and I use warm downs as a way to, for example, if we've been working a lot on upper register response or singing over the secondo passaggio, then I'll include a thyroarytenoid dominant register, so chest voice range, warm down, and usually I'll choose a different tonality or scale pattern or something like that as a way to kind of recapture or re-stimulate the ear's attentiveness to tone production into the voice. So many of our vocalizations are done in major tonalities and similar patterns, and you can get into a sort of automatic pilot. And whenever that occurs, I like to introduce a bit of a palate cleanser. And so I jokingly call them palate cleansers in the videos, right? But what it is a way for me to try to get whomever I'm working with, or in the context of the video, that person's ears and aural acuity to come back immediately onto focus of what they're doing. So that's why those warm downs are minors, or I think mostly I choose the minor tonalities, and there's a few patterns that I'll use for those descending minor patterns, and I'll bring it into the chest voice range to round out whatever work we've done over the secondo passaggio. And that may be a way that it's very, very nice at the end of a long day of singing. So while I've said I don't necessarily advocate them, I can see their benefit in returning us to sort of neutral. You know, I mean, you wouldn't, if you had a car with manual transmission, you should, you know, curb the tires, put the e-brake on and leave it in first gear, right? So that it's really not going to go anywhere. But in the winters in Michigan, it's best to leave it in neutral, because if the transmission fluid freezes overnight or gets close to freezing, you won't be able to move the gear selector. And I have learned, to the aching of my left foot, that sitting with the clutch depressed for a half an hour while the thing slowly warms up, to then finally be able to move it into neutral and sit and let it warm up some more, can be quite tiresome. And that thyroarytenoid dominant, comfortable range, different tonality, palette cleanser can return us to neutral, return us to base, so to speak. Return to base. Or in the old audio sense of things, like in the studio, RTZ, return to 0, which you'd hit that button so that the tape would roll back right to the starting point, and then you could start a new track. But I'm going way back. Alex wanted to ask a question. I'm struggling in the studio. Any recommendation to get better takes and better pitch while having the pressure off the studio? Oof, that's a really, really good question, and we could talk about that for ages and ages. And I think my recommendations can run the gamut. Gambit. First thing that comes to mind, if you're shy about asking for what you want, try to set that aside, especially if you're paying by the hour, which would be reasonable. Many studios are like that, and that's perfectly fine. If you're paying by the hour and you're uncomfortable, ask. Dress in layers so that you can try to address your heat or cold concerns very quickly. Bring food with you. I advocate bringing, this is really OCD, but whatever. I advocate bringing your own water from wherever it is you normally get your water during your vocal practices and rehearsals. The studio that I worked in San Francisco had lovely, amazing bottled water. Bottled water oftentimes is from municipal sources. Sometimes it's mineral water. If it's mineral water and you're not accustomed to the particular mineral content, then this, I know this, like I said, this was, and that's not fair because I'm not really OCD, but I'm very attentive to details. And I don't mean to be offensive about the OCD thing. And I apologize if I have been. You may or may not have a sensitivity to the mineral content of that water. Case in point, Avian and I don't really agree all that well. I can drink it and I love it and that's all well and good, but if I need to sing, I'm going to choose my old filtered tap water out of my refrigerator. And so I advocate bringing your own water, bring your own snacks, dress in layers so that you can assess that. I wanted to believe that I was the kind of person in the studio that the lighting scheme and whether it was dark or light made no difference to me. That's not entirely true. So adjust the lighting or the circumstances of the environment that you're in to make yourself feel as comfortable as you can. If you have a lot of people, if the band's in the room and it's upsetting you or making you nervous or feel self-conscious, clear the room. Your engineer will do this for you. If you just subtly pull them aside and say, hey, can you clear the room? They will do it. And your band should support this if it is in the service of saving the band time and money and getting the best takes from you. You can all come back in later when you're a little bit done and evaluate it. Beyond that, there's also, issues of practicing. Can you create a studio-like environment at your home or place of rehearsal and practice recording, doing practice takes and practice passes at it? Or could you even do your tracking outside of a studio? Get a reflection filter and a decent microphone and a decent preamp. The availability of high-quality gear goes on and on these days, all of which is possible and could really take all the pressure off. But I could go on. We could talk about the studio for days. There's so many different things about it, but hopefully in there's a couple videos on this too. You might consider checking out. They talk about a lot of the things I've just talked about, but they may also, turn a light bulb on for you. That could help. Hello, Elder Cruz. Jesse, great question. Sing-wise vocals. I'm editing a video right now. I'm having troubles cutting it down. I can dig it, I try to avoid that as much as I possibly can. But yeah, I feel for you, and I wish you all the best in doing your editing. What I'd love to know, if you don't mind telling us, what video editing software do you use, SingWise Vocals? Amber Mahalski, I'm sure, I mean, I'm certain it's not just me, because I know that there are other people that are in this chat that make videos, and I'm always interested in what works best for people and what they like about it. Amber, suggested order of importance when it comes to learning the instrument as far as breath, resonance, shapes of vowels, dynamics, wanting to learn everything ASAP, then it may not be helpful. Yeah, that's a really, really good question. When I think about the voice, this is why I called the method that I did on the website the AAA method, which is not like AAA awesome. It's airflow, alignment, and articulation. Airflow and alignment, and by airflow, I'm talking about subglottic pressure, support, if you will, and air moving over the vocal fold. Alignment is both posture and vowel alignment, so that the tone of your voice is consistent across the 5 main vowels that we use for vocal pedagogy, vocal teaching, E, A, A, O, U. Articulation is where these two things come together. So we develop the skill set of posture and airflow and the beginnings of vowel alignment, and they integrate when we start to have the dynamic interplay between the two of them, tonal onsets, phrases that have breaks in them, ultimately upper register development, which requires even greater coordination of airflow and vowel alignment in order to move successfully over the secondo passaggio. So while I don't know if there is, I don't know if I necessarily have a do it A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. However, thyroarytenoid dominant, chest voice, posture, alignment of airflow, single vowels, vowel combinations, sets of vowels, and then moving more and more towards dynamic integration of the two in the forms of varied articulations and varied scale patterns. But I attempted to lay that out in that sequence on the website. So if you haven't had a look at the method, that might be someplace to check out. Amber! Hey, thank you, Amber. SingWise, you and Jeff are my peeps. Laughing out loud, heart. That's a good question. At Amber. Striker Kane, anybody else catching the resonance in Jeff's voice this morning? Oh, well, thank you, Striker. Appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I'm a little tired. It's been a long... I realized when I finished teaching yesterday that my voice had a little bit more than enough. But it's not the first time that's happened. It won't be the last. And it's been an amazing week. The thing is, it's been a super fun week. Doing the videos for this week was super fun, and I felt really, really good. And teaching this week was amazing. So many amazing bits of learning and inspiring singers. Like really, really, really good stuff. Jeremy, first of all, you're almost the best I've found. Thank you very much. I've been practicing Shiver by Coldplay. My question is, at a certain point, past falsetto or high head voice, it feels like I'm hitting a second break. Yeah, you are. Depending on your fach. I know Stryker always encourages me to say fach because it is a German word and it's probably fach, like Bach, but I always want to say fasch because I was taught fasch. And I scrolled poorly, so now I gotta find that. Feels like I'm hitting a second break. Yes, the thing there, my question is at a certain point past falsetto or high head voice. So the thing is that the registration events, the secondo passaggio is the registration event between thyroarytenoid dominant singing and cricothyroid dominant singing, or generally referred to as chest voice and head voice. The next registration event is when you would enter your falsetto range of your voice. Depending on your fach, it's going to be in a different spot. The exercise I like for that is the super lip trill. If you haven't come across that, it's in the diaphragmatic warm-up on my channel, and it's a little bit tricky. It involves, most of the lip trill I'll have people pinching ever so slightly in order to enable a lowering of the jaw and a relaxation of the outer facial muscles. But with the super lip trill, I ask you to pinch and pull. And what this has the effect of doing is it really requires you to engage a little bit more with the abdominal muscles and re-up your expansion of the rib cage. And I find it particularly helpful when working towards extending the range into the area of your voice that I suspect you are asking about here. So the diaphragmatic warm-up, it's very early on in the beginning of that warm-up. Maybe consider giving that a try and see if working through some of those exercises for a little while can help you to facilitate that transition. The cool rumble. It may also be where I've got the lavalier mic. I've got it a little bit higher up, and I'm pretty sure it's resting against my sternum. So you might be getting a little bit of that in there too. Hey, Mrs. Webster, welcome back. Maddie, welcome. Mrs. Webster, Zhang. Hi, Jeff, my name's John. John, thank you. Do you have good ways to reduce vocal fatigue? I sing too much every day and my cords get tired and heavy sometimes. I wonder about the balance of your phonation. Now, in truth, and we've been discussing this a little bit here, I'm a little tired, and my voice is also a little tired, so you can kind of hear it in my speaking voice today. First of all, there are several videos that address vocal fatigue on my channel. If you leave a comment somewhere asking about this, or if you email me via my website, jeffrolka.com or voicelessons.sf.com, I can send a link to you. Or if you just do a quick search, you can find them too. If you're getting fatigued, barring any sort of extreme circumstances, like if you're doing tons and tons of glottal attacks at or above the secundopassagia, that's a kind of an extreme separate matter. But if you're just singing an awful, awful lot, prevention is worth a pound of cure. So stay hydrated. Be conscientious about the things that may gum up your voice or irritate your voice such that greater amounts of phlegm are produced. The phlegm in and of itself isn't a problem. But if you've got phlegm on the vocal fold, then you can excessively clear your throat, or you may in fact increase your vocal fold adduction or the musculature around the vocal fold in an attempt to kind of brighten or crispen up the sound a little bit, get more focus to it. And that can be problematic and lead to more fatigue overall. But the main thing is prevention, prevention, prevention. So be conscientious of how much you're exerting yourself. Assess the balance of your voice in terms of airflow versus vocal fold engagement. If you find that you are too heavy, but you see, you're talking about heaviness in terms of singing for too long. So I don't want to assume that you're talking about an overall heaviness to your voice. But if you are, and that is in fact the case, then assessing the balance of your voice, is the amount of airflow appropriate to the range that I am singing in when in conjunction with the vocal fold engagement. So that equation changes as we move through the various registers of our voice. And if it gets out of balance, then you're either going to have a very airy sound or you're going to induce more vocal fatigue. We want to try and be in that nice balanced middle zone. Striker at JC's Radiant Ray. John, I'm using your daily warm every day. Love your stuff. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Jeremy Wright. Hey, John, talking to you. Great stuff, Mr. Rolka. Parit 1969. Thank you so much. You're very welcome. Thank you for joining us this morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time it happens to be, wherever you happen to be. I'm afraid I don't know how to pronounce your name. I am sorry about that. I'm doing very, very well. It's been an amazing, exciting week, and I am, yes, a little bit tired and fatigued, but I'm feeling so awesome right now. I'm so excited. I'm so excited about everything that has been going on and everything that has happened. And just in general, I'm psyched. Jeremy, it really helps me. Hello. I can dig that. I can dig that. Focus on a smooth transition of the secondo passaggio. Make that a part of your, shall we say, I always want to say preamps, but I know that not everyone knows what I'm talking about when I say that. Different preamps in the pro audio world offer different colors. That's why we have like Neve and Grace Audio and Millennium Media and PreSonus and Focusrite and I said Grace, I said Neve, Manley, of course. How could I forget Manley or Avalon? All of these, and there's a lot of gear that they have, but one of the things that they make, especially Neve preamps, that's what takes a microphone and brings it up to a level that we can record effectively. And all of those circuitries and all of the op amps, these little circuit boards that fit inside of the preamps, they all have their different ways of doing that, and they all add a certain color or a lack of color or a clarity, or which is called transparency. You know, yeah. I mean, singing high is lovely, and a low tenor or a baritone voice, you know, singing into their upper register is a magnificent thing. Just make sure you've got a smooth transition. Assess your balance so that you've got good, sustainable habits, and rock on. John is talking to Jeremy. Jason and Ray, Jeff, my teammates are passing around cough drops before we sing. I heard long ago that cough drops have the opposite effect in that they dry out one's throat. What are your thoughts? Thoughts will differ on that. I mean, personally, I avoid those things. I don't use cough drops. Most of them are basically, I mean, there's a fair amount of sugar in those. For some of us more than others, the sugar is going to create more mucus, which creates another problem. If you have a sore throat, but you can phonate over the secondo passaggio, then it's probably safe to sing. If you can't phonate or sing above the secondo passaggio, I would recommend that you not sing and that you take some time off. If you need the cough drops because it hurts you so much to sing, I would suggest you not sing. And this doesn't even get into the notion of like the various varieties of cough drops and the whole slippery elm cough drop thing. Bottom line is, like so many things that are diet or food or hydration related, some of those things will work wonders for some people. And others will do exactly and for other people they will do exactly the opposite. If you try them and it does not work for you, then I would suggest you not do that. If it does, then I would say that's fine. However, I would just be aware if difficulties start to arise over the consistent use of these things. And that is another whole topic of discussion around the usage of cough drops or throat sprays or tea concoctions or things like that, is that if you start to rely on it for your singing, then what happens if you cannot access it? That may seem a little bit over the top, but, you know, think about it like this. If you're always taking cough drops when you're singing, if it starts just as a general like, oh, well, what can it hurt? It's nice and it tastes good. Cool. And then you start to like it and it becomes a habit, but then one day you show up at the studio and you run out mid-session and the drugstore down the street doesn't have them or doesn't have exactly what you need. Like, it introduces a variable that I don't know needs to exist in this realm where there are so many variables that we are tasked with managing. Dylan Klein Music, is it safe to sing over the secondo passaggio before warming up extensively? A need arises to sing above it without warming up, but you only have a few minutes to get ready. How would you prepare? Great question. Great question. If your technique in terms of making the transition over the secondo passaggio is good and you have consistent phonation in your practice, then getting it into your warm-up earlier on is a perfectly reasonable thing to do. There's nothing wrong with that at all. If you try to do this and you find that you are straining or relying on old habits, then maybe it's a little too soon to do that. And maybe the technique isn't quite as habitual for you yet, and some more time needs to go to let that become more of your habit around the secondo passaggio before you're going to be able to effectively integrate that into the beginning of your warm-up. But there is no objective reason why that I can think of that you shouldn't sing over the secondo passaggio from early on in your warm-up process. Andrew Walker, have you ever thought about growing a mustache? I actually am. There is this endemic thing in male singing instructors. They seem to have beards really frequently, and so I will not, under any circumstances, and I'm saying this now, and this is probably going to come back to haunt me, but I have every intention of never having a beard or mustache. Because it's just a little too much of a cliche for me to feel comfortable with. There's so many male singing instructors have beards and things like that. I have had many years ago I had a Van Dyke, so no mustache but the sort of chin beard. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, a goatee is when you have the mustache and the chin thing, which I never had a goatee. I might have that backwards. I don't know. Someone might be able to correct me if I'm wrong about that. But no, probably no mustache for me. So I've had soul patches from time to time. There's a few pictures of me out there, I think, where I have a soul patch. And certainly, I don't shave every day, so I can get a little bit scruffy. But I feel better when I'm cleanly shaven, and I feel like I present a nice professional image. So I try to. I'm a member of the Dollar Shave Club, so I get those razors and shave away. Heidi, in your opinion, is there a collective musical memory that makes different people, groups, more musical than others? That's a very interesting question. That's a very, very interesting question. What I think about are the subsets of social groups that exist where music is part of their daily, or if not every day, then very much a part of their regular interactions. So I'm thinking about like in church groups where musical participation is expected or encouraged at a very, very early age. And, from there on out, it's just a part of what you do. I think about and I must admit, I don't know a whole lot about these cultures, and it's been a long time since I studied non-Western music in music history class at university. But in some cultures, drumming, for example, is one thing that immediately comes to mind, or singing too is something that can be part of a culture from very, very early on, and it's part of their daily lives. And that would give one the impression of them being more musical, I think, when viewed from a Western civilization's viewpoint. We would look at them and say, wow, they're super musical. But I would somewhat challenge that notion, or at least open it up for questions and thoughts, because yes, it's a musical mode of expression, but it's also a part of their communication process and their social norms and everything else. And so does it make them more musical, or is it just that they've been doing it for already, by the time they're 12 years old, they've been participating in it either passively or actively for 10 years, give or take. you know, is that more musical? Yeah, I suppose so. But it's also a part of what they do every single day, and it's the norm that is a part of the culture and the society, and it's necessary in part to be an effective member of that society. So I don't know if I really answered that question or not, or just created more questions, or if that was utterly ridiculous. But that's how I think about these things, and that's how I think about. I'm reminded of Armand Gatala, who was the trumpet teacher at the University of Michigan. And he was always fond of saying, you know, everyone has the capacity. He was a cool. I don't know if he's still alive or not. He was a really cool dude, really really cool guy, and I don't remember the context that he and I were speaking, because I only had a few interactions with him. But it came out, what he said to me was, you know, I really think that everyone can be great. It's just a matter of whether you're going to get there in 5 years or, 30 years. Are you going to practice X number of hours now and get this in now? Or are you going to stretch it out over the next 30 years? I never felt like he made a judgment about it. It wasn't like one way was bad and one way was good. It was just a question of what you were going to do and how you were going to get there. But I'm now like way off topic. Mrs. Webster, I too am very particular on my water, but I found moving about that bringing my filtered water from home may feel a bit like an oddball, but it feels better vocally. Yeah, I've moved past being okay with being an oddball to embracing being an oddball. And I would encourage you to dip a toe into the oddball realm. It's very comfortable. Very, very nice over here. Jason's Radiant Ray, good question from Mrs. Webster. Jeremy Wright, no, not fry. It's akin to lilting. You are literally raising and lowering the larynx subtly. Elder Cruz, hello. Jeff, my question's about mixed voice. When I sing in a speech level, it's very easy for me to sing in my passaggio. I can reach very high notes. I'm a baritone. Is it okay to sing speech level? I'd really want... Okay, so when we talk about speech level, and it's been a while since I've interacted, and I've actually received 2 different assessments of what speech level was meant to mean. One was meant to mean that the overall volume level of the voice was speech level. The other was meant to indicate that the larynx level is at the level that it is when you're talking. So when I'm talking or in a neutral position, there's my larynx, and that's where it should remain. A neutral or a slightly lowered larynx is pretty consistent with every modern school of vocal pedagogy that I can think of. I am told that there was historically a French school of teaching singing instruction, where they advocated a raised larynx, but I haven't actually done the research on that to verify what I have just said. So you may look into that on your own, or just take it as a rumor. In any case, if you are maintaining your larynx at a neutral or speech level position, then I would think that what you're doing is consistent with most other vocal teachings that exist and is perfectly fine. You haven't indicated what happens when you don't do that, so unless I'm not reading ahead enough. So yeah, it should be fine. Jason's Rainy Ray. Jeff, when the band is having a bad day, how do you keep your focus and be supportive? Most all of them are supportive of me when I'm struggling. I want to do the same for them. Good question. Band dynamics. Boy, we could talk. This is another one of those things we could talk about for days. In getting to know the group that you're playing, hopefully, okay, so if you're playing with an ensemble of people that you play with regularly, then with observation, we can learn what they respond to best and what they need when they are not feeling very good about the performance that they are turning in at rehearsal or at the performance. So one person may need a clap on the shoulder and like a smile. Another person may need a, hey man, just, you're doing good. Just stay focused. Stay focused. Bring it back here. You're still doing good. Another person may respond really well to, you and I know that there was a problem, but none of them know there was a problem. There are any number of ways that that we can help our peers that we are working with. But I think the best way is to try to observe and understand what they need from us when they are in need and try to provide that to them. So the thing to do, in fact, might be just to ask and say, hey, are you okay? Like, are you doing all right? Is everything okay? Like, unless it was like really, really obvious, I wouldn't necessarily go up to them and say, hey man, like your drumming on that last song was, I could hear the drumming and I bet you feel really bad about that. Do you need a hug? I wouldn't go and do that because they may not have noticed, or they may have felt that it was the best performance of their lives. We don't know. We don't know what's going on. So, but if they're given the outward signs of like, or something to that effect, or, which I realize is a cliche, then just asking. I would ask and say, hey, how can I help you, man? Like, I'm here. I'm on your team. Like, we are a team. So what do you need from your teammate right now? What can I do? Maddie Hendricks, I came down with a cold this week. I'm so sorry to hear that. Even though my voice didn't feel the best, I was so amazed at how much a thorough warm-up and just trusting technique helped. I'm slowly getting better. That's wonderful, Maddie. Though I will still say that if you cannot phonate above the secondo passaggio, rest is at least to be seriously considered. Jeremy, I'm not sure what you mean by that. Mrs. Webster. At Striker Kane, my scarf is olive green today, like your photo you posted. And of course, today Jeff is rocking the Marty McFly. Yes, I am rocking the Marty. I didn't realize, I'd forgotten about that. Yes, yes, I'm rocking the Marty McFly. Wasn't his red though? I actually paid extra to get black. I got this on sale, but I paid like $5 more to get black. I could have had it a little cheaper if I was okay with like this dove white, which was beautiful too, but I really wanted black, and so indulgences. Jason's Radio, Maddie Hendricks, hit film. Thank you, Singwise Vocals. I've been using Camtasia for a long, long time, but I'm always concerned about what's coming next, and oh goodness, I've really fallen way far behind, haven't I? Okay. Wow. Jeremy, right. What I know of belting is yell or attack and release a chest note, jump to head, add cry. Interesting. Because of course, jump to head. If you're then going to your head voice, that's not belting. That's using your head voice, which isn't belting. But I'm not sure what you mean by that. Thank you for warm-up. You're very welcome for the warm-up videos. I'm going to try and speed things up here to get along. Today is how do I get great breath support? How should I be engaging abdominally? Should the muscles be tight? They're dynamically tight. Lots of videos and practices on this. Use the diaphragmatic breathing warm-up. Check into the Apogeo breathing video that I did. Annie had several peer critiquers tell me that my sound is too operatic for the mainly pop music that I've been singing. How can I sound more contemporary? Once again, I'm reminded of this book I should have asked about or gotten a copy of. Checking in on your vowel alignment will certainly help with that and making you stay in the popular genre. For lack of a better way of putting it, there's a bit more of a rounding of the vowels that we're not going to do, but above the secondo passaggio, that is not as true. What you might want to do is, if you do a quick search on the Wikipedia for the IPA, the International Phonetic Alphabet, it'll give you guide words for all of the different vowels that we use in singing. And what you can do is you can practice those guide words, paying attention to the vowel sound there, and then see how close you can get to that while singing your exercises or while singing your songs. There's always going to be a bit of compromise, and it depends on what genre you are as to how much onus we have on intelligibility. So if you're singing a vocalise, an operatic vocalise, just pure vowel sounds, there's very little intelligence to even, not intelligence, understandability, ability to understand what you're saying, because there's no words. If you're doing spoken word, then it behooves us to have really, really crisp articulations and make sure that we're articulating things very carefully. Most of us in the popular genres fall somewhere in between. So how much those vowels blend together, how much the consonants are used as articulators to define rhythms and line, all varies depending on the specifics of your genre. I'm doing well, Bunny B. Dylan, Jeremy Wright at Dylan, today is what's the difference between breath support, breath control, and breath management? They're relatively synonymous. Bunny B is saying hi to Singwise Vocals, Tadeus. As you ascend, Tadeus, mostly. Jeremy Wright, I'm on it, and yes, it is good. It's hard. Cardio singing. That came up last week, I feel like. Jason Ray, Maddie Hendricks. I can sing all the exercises for tenors and baritones. It turns out as a form for my diaphragm. Good. I still can't pinch and pull my bloody cheeks. Just try a little bit, not too much. Just a gentle, gentle little tug. Jeremy, I'm glad you're stoked. Me too. How would you get a deeper, richer tone and more power? And I suppose that resonance means resonance here. Focus on alignment. Balance your phonation. This allows for greater soft tissue resonance in the oral cavity. I reference this frequently. It was called The Human Instrument. It was in Scientific American. It's a little bit technical, but it talks about how the voice, to achieve its fullest representations, requires the sympathetic vibrations of the soft tissues that occur in the oral cavity. So by focusing on dynamic airflow and a good balance between vocal fold engagement and the airflow, then you can cultivate that release and cultivate the release of those soft tissues and cultivate more and more resonance. Yes, today, as most of the videos address vowels. I hope that in the future you'll make a video for baritones where you can sing low notes. The new ones now go down to D2. The new ones now go down to D2, so you can dive right in. At Mrs. Webster, at Jason Ray. New question, I have a rhythmically demanding piece to learn this week. I can do the notes in rhythm or the words in rhythm, but trying to sew it together bakes my brain. Suggestions. Slow it down. Slow it down and practice it that way would be my first suggestion. And you're probably going to have to memorize the words. Mandy can't pinch her cheeks either. We'll get to that. JC's Radiant Ray, at Striker, at Mandy. Thanks. Smiley face. I'm an amateur baritone in the middle of a severe Maria Callas obsession. How can I learn from listening to her? Should I attempt to sing her arias transposed? Perhaps. You might try that. You might just do them with a solid vowel rather than doing all of the different vowels and consonants. I don't know if you can hear that cheering in the background. I don't know what's going on out there. I'm glad that I am safe in this room. But we can learn so much more from other musicians. We can learn from listening critically to their phrasing, listening to how they begin a phrase, how they end a phrase, their changes in volume, changes in timbre of their voice, and when they occur, when they do not occur. If you have the music for those pieces, following along and noting those same differences can raise questions about what the artist is doing and in turn enlighten you as to how you might approach the pieces that you choose to sing. Dylan Klein Music was my favorite type of onstage monitoring system for shows. Regular monitors, in-ear, any other variety? Mostly in-ear. 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 I mean, you know, I've really had both. I've had wedge monitors where when it was a really small setup, it was like I was playing acoustic guitar and singing, and you know, the sound guy was wonderfully on it, wonderfully on it. It's a small room, and it was beautiful because I could hear myself. I could hear the people that I was playing to and that were with me, and it just. The biggest problem I have found with club dates, for the most part, is that it's just so crushingly loud. And I don't mean to sound like the old guy standing on his porch yelling at the kids to get off his lawn, you know. But when it's so oppressively loud, and your audience isn't pushing back commensurately with that kind of volume, it becomes this. It starts to feel like you're just throwing it at them, and there's no interplay. So in this instance that I'm thinking of. Like, it was so dynamic, you know, like I could increase my volume and pull back, and we could all be there together. In-ears often feel very isolating. However, for the sake of my ears, I prefer them when I'm with a band. And I'm thinking back to a bar gig I did ages ago in a cover band I used to play in. And I did my own mix. It wasn't always so good because I was singing, playing guitar, and meant to be doing the gig. But this night, I really got the in-ears right, and it was just heaven because everything was at a beautifully comfortable volume. I felt very comfortable, and I could hear, and it was lovely. It was just lovely. So I suppose the answer is well-managed monitors, whether they're in-ear or wedges. Wade, hello, I've been singing songs in my speaking register more than my upper register, and notice my upper register notes are easier to sing. That my upper register notes are easy. I suppose they could be getting easier to sing if you're at least getting into the zona de passaggio and starting to develop some technique. Alignment of the thyroarytenoid dominant singing voice or chest voice, I feel, is a prerequisite to being able to sing effectively in your upper register. I think that's great. Is it true? Like I said, alignment in the chest voice is a prereq. Keep up the great work. Jason Rainier, that sounds great. Sing-wise vocals, cough drops always make you feel coated and gunky. Thank you for saying that, sing-wise vocals. Need to clear my sinuses. I'll use Fisherman's Friends. They're not perfectly healthy, but they don't coat my throat. Yeah, I didn't want to say that, but you're absolutely right. Like, that's usually how I feel about them, and I haven't used them in ages and ages for that reason. Though I really like those ones in the white. They have a white box, and they have like a cherry on the front in a black diamond, I think. I don't remember what those are, but I think the thing that I like most is the packaging. I have a thing for packaging and mugs. The baritones are problems with high quality problems with high notes. I can get into them, but I cannot sound beautifully. But I think with great practice all the way, though. Yes, practice and good, consistent practice over the secondo passaggio. Menthol and eucalyptus, Fisherman's Friends, and that's only if desperate. There you go. There you go. The menthol that does smell really nice. Jason Ray at Singwise, Stephen Kaplan, could you review exercises for vowel matching in chest voice? Gosh, there's so many. You can pick basically anything on the channel that doesn't have full range in the title will stay below the secondo passaggio for the fuck that is in its title. So if you want to work in your chest voice and you're an alto, then any video that doesn't have full range in the title, or extended warm-up, or extended range, that kind of language, you can do that. Maddie at JC's Ray, beard, it's cool. I would have looked at this. Mandy Cummins, Jeffrey Wright, goatee is mustache and chin beard like Alex. There you go. Sing-wise, no mustaches, please. They creep me out. 2, sleeping with the enemy. Yeah, it's just too much. It's just too cliche, and I think that's perhaps changing because I know that there's a lot of other people you'll see on YouTube that don't have facial hair that are male singing instructors, but just too many male teachers in my history had facial hair. I'm just not going to do it, and I don't think I would look particularly good with a mustache, even if I weren't a singing instructor. JC's Radiant Ray at Maddie Hendricks at Singwise at JC Radiant Ray at Singwise. Heidi, thanks Jeff. Just a question I had waking up one night, just wondering. Wonderful. At Jason Ray at Jason Radiant Ray at. I'm so sorry I can't pronounce your name. At JC's Radiant Ray. Oh, it's Russian. How cool. Nope. Marty McFly's was blue. Mine looked okay. This is black. Black. Marty McFly's was blue. Now I know. Got to go. Heidi Banker. I thought, you know what I thought you said was Finnish sauna. And I was like, oh, that sounds a nice Finnish sauna right now would be so heavenly. But have a good week, Heidi. Thank you, Elder Cruz. At JC's Radiant Ray. Whoa, JC's Radiant Ray wrote in Cyrillic or Russian. That's so cool. Jason Ray, woke up with post-nasal drip. I'm having hot tea. Join me, fellow music nerds. I'm going to have a cup of tea as soon as this is done, which is very nearly done. At Jason Ray, Maddie Hendricks, and finished my speech for communication class about how gnats can help the general public be more aware about vocal technique. I present on Monday and think it will go really well. Yeah, that's awesome. I think gnats is really, really cool. The thing about it, Maddie, was that there was I guess the Chicago conference has now happened, but the conference before that, there were some presenters that did a thing, and I should have just I should have just written this out, but the presenters had a very interesting point, which is something like 98% of all vocal instruction that takes place in places of higher learning is focused on the classical voice, and operatic singing, stuff like that. Classical singing. But something like 90% of all work for professional vocalists, all paid work, is in the commercial realm. In other words, the popular genre. So there's this disparity between what is often getting taught versus where people are going to find work. And that was something a friend and teacher and wonderful musician here, Megan Dibble, and I have talked about quite a lot, which is that disparity of the instruction versus where we find work. At Maddie, at Jeff Rolka, tell me please, how can I add a hard sound in my voice so that it would not damage ligaments? I want to try something from Joe Cocker. Ooh, you got to be careful with this. I have to wrap this up, but you can experiment with affectations, different sounds, colorations, vocal fry, a little bit of, like vocal fry or distortion if you get the ventricular folds or false vocal folds vibrating as well. That's all really great, okay? But begin from a neutral tone production. So start with good vocal alignment so that you do not inadvertently hurt your voice. This is actually something that Karen from Singwise and we briefly discussed via email, and she turned me on to an associate of hers from New York who talked a bit about this. But there aren't a lot of great sources for adding these types of affectations that occur in the popular music genres. And so what we end up doing is experimenting to try to understand what works best for us and for the genre and the music that we are singing. But it is best approached from starting from a neutral, well-aligned, well-supported system so that you can always return to that, knowing that you can come back there and start again if you find that what you tried didn't work very well for you. Mustaches make it hard. Showing hands on keyboard in the video is very helpful for beginners. Thank you, Mark Dutton. I'm going to try and get that in there. I'm having camera issues right now. You'll notice like some of these videos have out of focus things in them. I think my camera is just, I don't think my camera is doing very well. So I don't know, if any of you, maybe if you're on Sequencer, I meant to write this on Sequencer and I forgot. But if anyone knows why an autofocus camera might go out of focus, I would love to hear your suggestions. I mean, I've bathed myself in lighting in here, and I cleaned the lens, and I like reset the camera, and I think I turned it all on auto, whatever. So, anyways, everybody, Polite Pancake, hey, welcome back. It's okay. You're always welcome here, Polite Pancake. You're very welcome, Dylan Klein Music. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for contributing today. At JC's Radiant Ray. Sorry, Marty McFly's jean jacket was blue, not the vest, but the vest was red. Why they can name PFDs. At JC's Radiant, at Mark Dutton. The interior of the piano. All right, I'll start opening up the piano. I can at least do that. First of all, Karina Chen, true, you are not very clear today. Well, this should just be my regular camera. I think that's because of my internet speed, Mrs. Webster. Yeah, no, it's a different camera entirely that I'm talking about. It's a Panasonic V250, HC V250. I've had it for a while now. Honestly, I think I might have just kind of used it up. It's about 3 or 4 years old. It got knocked off a shelf once, and yeah, I think what I've really been trying to do is just deny the fact that I have to replace it. Everybody, thank you so very much. Awesome sessions. Love these sessions. Love these sessions. Thank you, Karen from Singwise Vocals, for joining us today. Thank you, everybody else. As always, take really good care of your voices. Enjoy singing. And hopefully I'll see you here next week, or I'll see you in the comments in between now and then. Bye.